day to all of you viewers of Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much for joining us on this other edition of the news. Our major stories this evening: firefighters of the Ngoti Fire Brigade have been attacked by disgruntled youths of the New neighborhood who accused the firefighters or rescuers of arriving late at the scene of a fire incident which consumed several houses in New Bell. But what is really the reason firefighters hardly arrive on time whenever their services are needed? The firefighters themselves today will explain the so many obstacles they themselves face on a daily basis while carrying out their activities in this news edition. And also in this edition, we take you to the Cottage Hospital in Tico, where survivors of the most recent CDC attack are receiving medical attention. At least 2 people lost their lives and several others were injured in an attack on CDC workers of the CDC plantation in the southwest region that was early this week. Viewers, those are our lead stories. Details and more in just a moment. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for being with us. The 2 survivors of the gruesome attack at the Sone Likumba Rubber Estate are currently receiving treatment at the CDC Cottage Hospital in Tico. We are in the southwest region of the country. They are said to be responding positively to treatment, according to our reporter who is in Boya. The attack, which took place on the 23rd of August, led to the death of a female senior field agent of the CDC and a military officer as well. Rex Afon is at the Tico Cottage Hospital and gives us updates on the situation of things on the ground.
We are at the entrance to the CDC Cottage Hospital here in Tico, where 2 of the victims of the 23rd August Likumba shootout are currently receiving treatment. From what we got, 4 persons were involved in the shootout in total, were victims of the shootout in total. That is 1 military officer who passed out, unfortunately, during the shootout, and also a senior field assistant of the CDC who also died as a result of the shootout. Also 2 other persons, that is a lady and a man, were also victims of this tragic incident. Both of them are currently receiving treatment. The lady was shot twice on her legs and the man did not sustain serious injuries. For now, nobody has owned up to this incident or the activity that took place in this, and the motive has not yet been reviewed. A communique signed by the general manager of the CDC on the 24th condemned in strong terms this incident, and he also said that measures are being taken by the elements of the forces of law and order and also security in order to track down the perpetrators of this act and to bring them to book. Also, it is now said that security is going to be tightened around this area in order to ensure the workers work in safety. We could not have access to the patients who are in the hospital, but we will be giving you updates subsequently on our news editions. Reporting from the Tico CDC Cottage, I am Rex Afon, Equinoxe Television.
Thank you, Rex, for those updates today, and we wish the survivors a very quick recovery and our sincere condolences to the bereaved families. Now over to one of our lead stories. Firefighters of the Ngoti Fire Brigade, we told you in the headlines, have been attacked by disgruntled youths of the New neighborhood who accused the firefighters or the rescuers of arriving late at the scene of a fire incident which consumed several houses in New Bell that was yesterday. But what is really the reason firefighters hardly arrive on time whenever their services are needed? The firefighters themselves spoke today to our reporter, Mala Glory. They explained to her the different obstacles they themselves face in the course of their activities.
In these amateur images, the population could be seen throwing stones and other harmful objects at the fire truck that intended to put out flames that were propagating in New Bell neighborhood, precisely at the Foyer Banjun on Monday. Shouting to the top of their voices, They accused the firefighters for arriving late when they had put out the flames. To them, from Godi neighborhood, the office of the Army Rescue Unit, to the place of the incident in New Bell neighborhood, all in the Douala 2 subdivision, is just a few kilometers away. In response to this, the commander of the 20th Army Rescue Group, Kadre Abdiel, condemned this act and furthers that a complaint has been filed against the unknown individual to identify them and who will be punished accordingly.
Les sanctionner conformément à la loi.
Few months ago, another fire incident occurred in the Douche Municipal Market, also known as Marché Chinois. Victims still accuse firefighters for arriving late.
Vous vous rendez compte que moi, ma boutique est à 6 minutes des sapeurs-pompiers qui dans d'ici pour les sapeurs n'a aucun embouteillage.
Reacting to these accusations, the commander blames these on bad roads and traffic congestion in Douala.
Bad roads, we have also incivism of population because we have also, in case of fire, lack of hydrant. Permit him to put out fire.
However, the Army Rescue Unit continue to urge the population to call the toll-free number in case of any emergency.
You have to trust on your firefighters. We are available 24/7. In case of emergency, you have to dial 118.
And on our series on Back to School tonight, at least 60 clandestine secondary schools in the Littoral region, in a note signed by the Littoral Regional Delegate for Secondary Education, have been shut down. The action, which is in government's willingness to fight against fraud in the education system, began today. Cedric Chakutio reports.
To the beginning of the 2025-2026 school academic year, clandestine schools, in a note by the Littoral Delegate of Secondary Education, are invited to close their doors in the Littoral region. At least 60 schools are concerned by this decision. Reasons of this closure also vary from one school to another, as some schools lack the required documents before the opening of their school. This decision punishes schools located in high school buildings or in a residential home, as well as in unsafe locations.
Those people who have schools, many of them are not there for education, you know. Some of them are there for business. Because those who are there for education try to do their best to have their documents. They just want to open their schools, even though they don't have their authorization.
Measures that, according to the regional delegates, will help parents not to fall into the trap where their children will not be able to sit for their exams because they will have registered in a clandestine school.
This time, I hope parents have to know exactly those schools which are around them and where they don't have to register their students. So by doing so, I think by the end of the month of September, we'll have all the schools closed and we'll make sure that they will not open their doors during the whole year.
As the presidential elections approaches, the Littoral Regional Delegate of Secondary Education confirms the beginning of the 2025-2026 school academic year for the 8th of September 2025, assuring parents that nothing will disturb the resumption of the school academic year.
They don't have to. School is school and we should leave the students in school. I don't know why we should match the politics and the school. No, let us send the students. Let the parents send the student in school. There will be the school open and we are there just to wait for them. So there's no fear to have.
The decision taken by authorities leaves parents, students and education stakeholders in the affected schools in a state of uncertainty and dismay as the 2025-2026 school academic year approaches.
Meantime, earlier today, the Secretary General at the Governor's Office alongside the Littoral Regional Delegate for Secondary Education carried out operations to close clandestine schools in the Littoral region as demanded by the Minister for Secondary Education. We are expected to have those images on our screens. This closure aims to ensure compliance with educational and safety standards, particularly the lack of suitable premises, required areas, and the exposure of students. And also, it should be noted that the fight against clandestine schools begins before every academic year begins across the entire nation, and due to the laxity of the authorities and also the aspects of corruption, several promoters do not respect the regulations and open schools to get to the dismay of the students and also local education authorities. Now let's listen to the Secretary General at the Governor's Office in this excerpt compiled by Cedric Chakutu.
Implementing instruction of Madam Minister of Secondary Education concerning closing of non-authorized school within the littoral region. So the minister identified 73 schools, and here in the Vuri division we have 45, and since morning we are closing those schools who did not have authorization of creation and functioning. So we are doing this to sensitize parents and students for them not to go and write and register children in those schools who do not have authorization.
Now we talk politics. One of the candidates for the October 12 presidential election in Cameroon, ATEGHA Stella, says if elected president come October 12 or after, he will resolve the Anglophone crisis within 100 days. He also puts forth well-established plan to provide concrete solution to the security challenges in the northern regions of Cameroon and the socio-economic problems of the nation. He spoke on La Vérité en Face on Equinoxe television. Here is Babila Jonathan with greater details.
It is the first time he is standing as presidential candidate, but the 39-year-old flag bearer of Liberal Alliance Party says he has always been there and actively involved in the socio-political and economic life of the nation.
I've always been very involved on political questions. The first time, for example, that the voting age question was debated in Cameroon's parliament, I think we brought it there as an organization after doing research on the field.
ATEGHA Stella says he has the solution to the security problems in the northern parts of the Republic of Cameroon.
There could be many factors, among which is poverty, but I think about ideological causes as well. So this ideological thing also needs to be tackled.
To solve the socio-political and security problems in the northwest and southwest regions, an official recognition of the Anglophone problem, a day of national mourning for those killed in the crisis.
Tous les prisonniers politiques qui sont dans les geôles actuellement, they will libérer tous.
And the liberation of persons arrested and detained in connection to the crisis will open the way to a lasting solution, according to him. This, he says, will be followed by a national conference that will address all questions.
Are you going to discuss everything, including the problem? Because the problem is essential. The problem is that some are saying, we don't want to belong to this nation anymore. We want independence, outright independence for former British Southern Cameroons. Are you ready to discuss that with those who are holding that position?
You know, there is one thing that I would like to be very clear about, is that I'm not a president who is coming to separate Cameroon. I'm not a president who is coming to put Cameroon asunder. I'm here to see that how we can heal this country, how we can bring back peace and help people live their lives. This is the most important thing. But I think that people are frustrated when they have a problem and you refuse that problem doesn't exist.
He's also promising concrete solutions to the socio-economic problems, including high cost of living, poverty, hardship, and misery. About the bad state of roads across the country, ATEGHA Stella thinks the build, operate, and transfer BOT system of road infrastructural development with the aid of partners is the way forward. For all these promises to come to reality, he calls all Cameroonians of voting age to the ballot box.
What I'm saying is that the things that you're claiming, as well as what I've proposed here, these things are not going to be given to us. These things, we are going to win them through the ballot.
He is thus hoping to be voted by Cameroonians October 12, 2025, so he can execute his vision for the nation.
In other news, the political atmosphere in Cameroon geared towards the October 12 presidential election is unfortunately witnessing a growth in hate speech and xenophobic tendencies across the national territory. To avoid a cycle of violence which could flow from viral hate, the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism has promised war on propagators of hate. This is part of a nationwide campaign engaged by members of the Commission and their partners. For me, Armstrong Sanda reports.
No, this shocking public declaration in a private media organ earlier this year in Yaoundé, for example, left Cameroonians wondering if competent institutions created to fight hate speech and xenophobia were indifferent to the excesses of some individuals in the country. A question asked Dr. Chi Asafo, Secretary General of the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism.
When it comes to matters that are within the ambit of the National Communication Council, the files are forwarded to the National Communication Council. So our role in that case will be to forward it to the competent organization, because, you know, within a state, every organization has missions, attributions, and you don't want to do some other person's job.
Dr. Chiasafo says the commission is actively on the ground, reasons why they came to Douala to reinforce their engagement with some partner civil society organizations charged with monitoring hate speech and xenophobia.
Today, we would like to know what has happened, what has transpired so far, what efforts have been made by them so far, so that we know where we stand, and if there are any directives to be given, they will be given, so that before the 12th of October 2025, we know what contribution the Commission and the other stakeholders, like the civil society organizations, would like to know the path we have covered.
A mission apparently well understood by concerned civil society actors.
What we have to do is to sensibilize and to report.
Aware of the growing hate speech and xenophobic tendencies online, the Commission promised help to propagators and said that the National Telecommunications Regulatory Agency, ATEGHA, is working to identify actors and hate-promoting platforms.
One of the missions that the civil society organizations have is to detect on social media and report. And when we report, you know, there is ATEGHA. Any person overdoes it, we have the possibility of suspending the contribution of that person, the participation of that person in any social media channel.
The visit to the economic capital city Douala and session with some civil society actors falls within a broader nationwide campaign for a hate-free Cameroon, especially within the electoral year 2025.
Pierre Kwemo, a flag bearer of the Union of Socialist Movement UMS party, is emphasizing the possibility of building a strong coalition for the upcoming presidential election in Cameroon. He is calling on Cameroonians to play their part in choosing a leader who can take the nation's destiny into their own hands. Immaculate Fogwe was part of the press briefing he organized in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. She compiled this report for the news.
The Union of Socialist Movement UMS party's flag bearer for the forthcoming presidential elections, Pierre Kwemo, calls on Cameroonians to sit up while assuring them at a press conference that a strong coalition is still possible a few weeks to the presidential election.
La coalition des forces de progrès.
It is still possible to create a synergy that brings together different groups. What we haven't managed to build before, you can still achieve through action and solidarity. The Cameroonian people are more than ever called upon to play their role by choosing a leader capable of taking the nation's destiny into their own hands.
He asserts that Cameroonians hold the keys that can enable them enter a new era. For this, he bets on a clear vision for Cameroon.
Le peuple camerounais est plus que jamais appelé.
The coalition of forces of progress is not dead. It can be reborn through the mutual commitment we will make in the coming weeks on the basis of a clear path serving the people and nothing else. The Cameroonian people hold in their hands the key to a new era.
La clé d'une nouvelle ère.
Pierre Kwemo commits to reducing social inequalities, establishing social justice, and guaranteeing equitable access to public services while promoting human dignity.
Thanks, Immaculate. Viewers, let's now tell you how Cameroon is faring in just a moment.
Cet entretien m'a évidemment fait froid.
On Cameroon today, we take you to Mwanko in the Senegal Maritime Division of the Littoral region. That area is blessed with touristic sites. Unfortunately, some have been forgotten. The Yoyo village is one of the forgotten villages within the Mwanko subdivision with a natural and clean seashore which could be arranged for visitors to spend time. The area, which hasn't been well managed, is now serving as a fertile ground for fishing. How is the life of these fishermen at the Yoyo village? Our reporter Simanjikan Gabriel takes us to that village.
After several days spent in Malimba, we continued our discovery within the Senegal Maritime Division. Our next stop was in one of the forgotten areas within the Senegal Maritime Division, Yoyo. It is a village which is covered by sand, making it difficult for even commercial motorbike to circulate freely. While in the village, we met with a Nigerian by name Adebayo. He has been in Yoyo for over 5 years. Adebayo will take us later to the beach of Yoyo, which is more than 80 kilometers long, something that surprised us all. On day one in Yoyo, we decided to take interest on the life of the people who are all involved in fishing. It's already past 1 p.m. in the afternoon. The seashore is quiet, no fishermen. All canoes are still standing. Adebayo explained while the calm nature of the seashore. We've not gone for fishing because the water is not good for now. If you joke, it could carry you far away. Notwithstanding the calmness of the sea, we saw one courageous fisherman who is struggling to fish with the high tides, while others are preparing their net to go fishing, since it's the main economic activity in Yoyo. At Yoyo, we have a variety of fish that we catch when we go fishing. We also have different types of nets we use in fishing. For now, it's not given because the week before we had a great catch. For the lone canoe that went fishing to come out of the sea, it was a difficult landing.
Good landing.
When it finally left the water, removing the fish out of the net is the next activity that follows, which is difficult for a newcomer. More than midday already, the sun is very hot. Everyone is seen struggling to hide from the heat after a charged day in Yoyo under scorching sand.
Thank you so much, Smart. From Yoyo, we come back to the economic capital, Douala. We take you to Carrefour Music, where circulation is now fluid somehow, but the road there is still in a very deplorable state, especially at Rai. Let's just watch on what happened at Rai today.
And doing some people doing some struggle over. So the situation is terrible. See the traffic happening now. 25th August 2025 around 5 p.m.
And with that, we come to the end of the first part of the news viewers. Let's now move on to talking points. Welcome back, viewers. Our guest tonight is Madam ATEGHA Stella. You are the founder of Reference Bilingual School in Bonaberry, Bambutus. But above all, you are a parent and preparing your children to school too. We'll be talking about the difficulties schools and also parents are facing during this back-to-school period. Thank you so much, Madam, for accepting to be our guest tonight. I just mentioned a while ago, schools resume. That would be in 2 weeks, maximum, precisely on September 8th. And registration have begun in most schools across the national territory. But some parents in Cameroon seem to be reluctant because of the political atmosphere in the country. Tell us what obtained where you are, Madam Stella.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It is my pleasure to be here today. Indeed, it is a tragedy. It's a tragedy that affects the entire nation, the family, but women at large, because we feel the pain of a woman whose children have been kidnapped. There's no word to describe such a pain. So as a woman, it's a deep shock that I receive after listening to this news. And the shock is very profound, simply because it's not the first time. It's not the first time. On a daily basis now in Cameroon, you hear about children kidnapped, you hear about women killed, and all of this. So it's not only a shock, but it's becoming like a trauma. You are kind of traumatized because it's like becoming normalized, because we hear it on a daily basis. But I feel, but it's becoming like a trauma. You are kind of traumatized because it's like becoming normalized, because we hear it on a daily basis. But I feel the pain, and my first word thought go to the family, especially that mother who is going through this deep pain that we cannot even describe, and all the anxiety she's having herself and the entire family. But maybe I can also say that it's the pain for a family, but it's a pain for the entire nation.
Sincerely apologize for that mix-up there, viewers. We will come back to the difficulties parents are facing during this back-to-school period that would be in subsequent news editions. Viewers, thank you so much for being with us, and that was what we put together for you this evening on the news in the English language. Our programs continue tonight. Equinoxe comes up at 7 p.m. and the news in the French language will be yours at 8 p.m. Bye-bye for now, and see you again tomorrow, same time, God willing.